Legal Marketing Launch, Episode 75.
Welcome to Legal Marketing Launch. If you're a lawyer looking to expand your practice and elevate your client development to a new level using cutting-edge marketing ideas, then this show is for you. Here's your host, Bentley Tolk.
This is Bentley Tolk. I am a shareholder with the law firm of Parr, Brown, Gee & Lovelace in Salt Lake City, Utah, where my practice focuses on the defense of ERISA litigation and employment law. I also do general commercial litigation, and I do employment law. And I want to just welcome you to this episode of Legal Marketing Launch. Here at Legal Marketing Launch, we help lawyers with their business development to keep it top of mind, and also with cutting-edge strategies. If you are not yet a subscriber to Legal Marketing Launch, I would invite you to subscribe in iTunes and to download 20 episodes and listen while you're commuting or while you're working out. Our guest today is Bruce Harwood. Bruce, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Bentley. It's nice to be here.
Bruce is coming to us from Canada, where he has an immigration and citizenship practice. And I think rather than my trying to do justice to what it is that Bruce does, I will turn some time over now. Bruce, if you could tell us about your firm and tell us what it is that you do professionally.
Well, Bowden Law Corporation was founded in 1949 and has been a mid-sized firm in the Greater Vancouver market since that period of time. We're a full-service firm, and we have managed to survive in a very competitive marketplace here in the Greater Vancouver area because we have a very good reputation, and we've been very successful in the various areas of practice that we're involved in. My own area of practice is citizenship and immigration. I was a former immigration officer before I returned to law school, and over a period of years, I gradually worked my way back into the area of citizenship and immigration practice, and that is my full-time discipline, and I don't practice in any other areas. And citizenship and immigration, from a Canadian perspective, is not only interesting, but an extremely busy area of the law.
Bruce, I want to ask you, before I jump into some of the business development issues and maybe some of the things that you've done with your practice, tell me just one or two things quickly personally about yourself.
Well, I have a bachelor's degree in history and also a master's degree in international relations and a law degree from the University of British Columbia. And I have been practicing since 1987. And so this is entering my 29th year. And I live in the Greater Vancouver area. I'm married with 2 children, and I'm very pleased to be part of this firm. It's the third firm that I've been involved with, and I think we do a really good job in this marketplace as a mid-sized firm, and I'm very pleased to continue practicing in this area for the future.
Well, that sounds great. And I want to ask you, in terms of your practice, would you tell us in a nutshell the ways in which you market what it is that you do in terms of your legal work? Tell us kind of what your business development strategy is.
Okay. Well, first of all, we have a focus, and the focus in our practice, even though it's immigration and it involves individuals, our practice our focus is the corporate world, primarily through the firm website, which devotes a section to each area of practice in the firm. And by hiring a professional marketing team in-house, we have found that to be the best method of promoting our practice. Our immigration group receives more calls than any other area of practice on a daily basis, and we have 50 lawyers and the equivalent amount of staff. And so we find that our services are in demand all the time, and I attribute that to 2 things: our website, and secondly, our professional marketing group that we hired in-house to help us with a marketing strategy, and that has proved to be a very successful aspect of this law firm.
You and I were talking before we started the show, and I think you were mentioning that you have, I think, two full-time marketing people, or at least two marketing people at your firm, which I think is extraordinary. And I think that there is a real advantage to that. I look at my firm; we're sort of in between marketing directors, and boy, it's so important to have those, to have marketing directors who can help and who are knowledgeable.
Well, we're a mid-sized firm in this market, and there are large national firms, Canadian national firms here, which now are expanding internationally. And to preserve our market share, we had to turn to professional marketers to do so. And as opposed to having in-house staff and take up the reign of marketing, we several years ago made the decision to move in this direction. And I don't think we've looked back from that. And we're very pleased with the people that we brought in to deal with this, because they understand this. It's not just an issue of understanding how lawyers do business. They have a professional discipline in marketing business in general, and they apply those principles to our particular practice and our particular niche in the market here, and it does clearly help us a lot in keeping a thriving business.
Now, you mentioned that the phone is essentially ringing off the hook, or that you're getting the most calls in terms of your immigration group. And you mentioned one of the factors is the website. What is it about the website, or what are you doing that in terms of the website or the web presence that is really helping that to happen?
Well, I think essentially it is that our marketing team took a long look at the pre-existing website, and then we went out and hired a consulting firm that dealt with effective websites. And through an interchange between our marketing people and that professional consulting firm, we developed a new site which has if you look at it, you can see that it basically refers to us as a West Coast law firm, and it has a unique cachet to it, and I think that has made a difference. Now, secondly, and specifically from a citizenship and immigration perspective, Vancouver is a great port of entry from Asia, and secondly, Canadian immigration policy is very aggressive in seeking skilled labor, in particular, to immigrate to Canada. And so part of this success is from the fact of our location on the west coast of Canada.
Now, I want to ask you as well, I initially got in touch with you because I'd seen that you were going to be part of a webinar, and it was a webinar, I believe, that was put on through Meritas. Both your law firm and then my law firm are members of Meritas. Tell me a little bit about that seminar or that webinar, and I believe that was a Meritas capability webinar, how businesses can benefit from the new Canada-EU free trade agreement. Tell me how you use things like webinars to promote what it is to promote your legal practice.
Well, one of the reasons that I came to this firm 9 years ago was because as an immigration lawyer, having international connections from the west coast of Canada is very important. And Boughton Law Corporation is one of the initial members of the Meritas organization. And of course, we have 175 law firms worldwide. So there was a natural network for the type of practice that I'm involved with. And what we developed over time was a sense that not only office seminars for our in-house clients, but webinars put on with the assistance of our Meritas affiliates would help us expand the reach of the information we can provide internationally, and that has proven to be the case. I know we did a seminar last spring on the importation of foreign workers, which we had in our boardroom. We had 25 of our clients, but we had something like 75 companies listening to the webinar, which is very, very effective. So I think what we've come to the conclusion that we combine an in-house webinar seminar for our clients and making them aware that this is part of a webinar process, and it's given us a significant reach overseas. With respect to the Canada-European Free Trade Agreement, I decided to put on this program with my colleague Didier Culat of the Montreal firm BCF, because he's heavily involved in the trade aspect of this new agreement, which has not yet been fully implemented. But his point, and it's a good point, was be ready for this particular change, because it's going to impact European clients who are going to put goods into Canada. And from my perspective, it's going to impact foreign nationals from Europe who are seeking to work in Canada, because part of this whole free trade agreement, and indeed every free trade agreement that Canada is involved in, is some liberalization of the ability to work in Canada on work permits.
I think there are a couple of things that jump out at me from what you've said. I think one is the power of a webinar. And I think, you know, you mentioned having some clients present for a webinar, and you mentioned also the reach of reaching a whole bunch of others as well. And so I think that there's great power with a webinar. The other thing that jumps out at me is that I don't know anything about this new Canada-EU free trade agreement, but it seems to me that within your practice, or within one's practice, as these new developments in the law come about, to actually do a webinar and to share your expertise, to be a thought leader, to show your knowledge and your expertise, is something that it seems to me can be very effective.
Well, I think the primary strategy was tell our clients and those our fellow European lawyers in particular, through the Meritus organization, that this agreement is going to come into place. And when it does, you'll be ready for it. You won't have to react to it when one of your corporate clients says, look, we want to send a group of 5 of our corporate personnel to Canada. Are we going to need a work permit? Are there problems with what are called labor market impact assessments, which basically are a means by which Canada controls the entry of foreign workers into the domestic labor market by making companies justify why they're hiring foreign nationals as opposed to Canadians for the position. So the ultimate point was to say, we're out there, we're aware of this program. When this program does reach implementation by the Canadian Parliament and the European Union, we are ready to serve our client base. And that's why we decided to be proactive rather than reactive.
So, Bruce, it sounds to me like your strategy was first and foremost to let your clients know, to educate them, but also with lawyers in Europe who are part of Meritus to let them know, look, you know, be part of this, learn about it, so you'll know about it. And of course, I would assume that if the need arose, that they would come to you and to your firm.
Well, between BCF and Montreal and the trade issues, because that's Didier's specialty, and he has long experience with this, and my expertise with importing foreign workers, we thought that we would work as a team. And of course, part of the Meritus organization is cross-selling everyone's particular skills. So it was ideal. And as you know, there is a new trade agreement with the Pacific nations, and we're still getting the details on that, but we plan to do something similar because it will have an impact on trade with the Pacific nations, and it will also have an impact on liberalizing the movement of foreign nationals from countries like Australia, New Zealand, Singapore, Japan into Canada without some of the difficulties that they normally face when you're hiring foreign workers.
I want to ask you, shift gears a little bit. Can you tell us a story of a success that you've had in terms of your business development or marketing? Maybe tell us a story, whether it's from a webinar or some other contact, and how you were able to help bring business into the firm.
Well, I think one of the things with marketing, which you may allude to later, is the fact that it's an ongoing process. And when I first got involved in the marketing aspect of our firm, it was almost kicking and screaming. But I like to do the work, but other people had to bring it in. But if you're going to build a practice, you've got to learn how to do these things. And what I found after trying various aspects of various marketing schemes was that doing seminars is what I like to do. And someone mentioned to me, well, if you're going to market, then market with your strength. And my strength is seminars. So over the last few years, I'd say since 2005, 2006, we've been doing a lot of these seminars. And one of the professional associations in British Columbia contacted us that deals with human resources. And of course, you've got human resources managers through all these companies. And when they want to bring in a specific foreign worker, they start looking at the various Immigration Act or the various immigration regulations and the legislation in general, and they're looking for assistance. And so now we are a regular contributor to their seminar programs, which they run on various aspects of being a human resources coordinator. And so we're invited every year to speak to them on new developments, and it does help us because they do contact us.
You know, I like what you said about the kicking and screaming, and I think that so many lawyers feel that in terms of, hey, I just want to do the work. I have an expertise, or I've gone to law school. I want to develop an expertise, and other people should bring in the work. And you're someone who took responsibility, and you know, it may not have come naturally to you, but I think there's also a lesson in what it is that you did, in that you played to your strengths, and your strength was in giving seminars. That's what you enjoyed. That's what you felt like you were good at. And I think that's a real lesson for lawyers, that they don't have to do it in one way. And so it's not a one-size-fits-all. It really depends upon what it is that is really a passion or an interest in what you feel like you're good at. And you may have kind of alluded to this already, but Bruce, what do you feel like has been your greatest challenge in terms of legal marketing or business development?
Well, all right, the challenge that I think I've kind of now met is that I had to determine over the past decade in particular what type of marketing suited me personally. And that's where I say it became very clear to me that seminars are what I like to do. I like to teach. So I can get a group in a room. I can get a group of bankers. I can get a group of accountants. I can get a cross-section of our clients who have international trade and immigration issues. And that is, I think, what I had to learn was, market to your strength. And now I would say the biggest challenge for me is follow-up. Once you've done all this preparation, put a PowerPoint presentation together, lectured, whether it's an hour or 2 hours, and sometimes we've done a full morning, depending on the agenda and where we're doing this seminar. I think what you have to do is you've got to follow up with these clients. And one of the key things that our marketing people tell us is follow up with the people who attended, either in person or on the webinar. And I would say right now, that's my biggest challenge, is following up. And marketing has told me so. So you just can't do it and then just drop it and walk away from it, right? Once that you've made the commitment, you've had the people, then you've got to follow up with them and say, look, you were at our seminar. Did you find anything in there that was of some concern to you, or is there anything that you'd like to discuss with us, or do you have a particular situation where we can give you some advice? And I think our marketing department has made that very clear to all of us that we have to do that. And I'd say that's my biggest challenge.
So many lawyers will participate in a seminar or a webinar and will do nothing afterwards, and then they wonder, why doesn't the business come in? And so I want to ask you, if you are part of a webinar or a seminar, and it could even be a national company, or it could be an organization like Meritas, or it could be something that your firm does, but what is the strategy? How do you go about following up? Do you email the list? Do you get the list from the organizer of the webinar? What are your recommendations?
We've been instructed by our professionals to follow up by email, taking the webinar list. Some of them are our existing clients, and so we know, we're dealing with them anyways. But particularly the ones on the webinar, I think my failing is not in being aggressive enough in following up, and that is basically the one goal that I'm going to push forward in the next year as we develop our. As we will be developing our business strategy for our immigration group for 2016.
I want to ask you now about your current practice, and what is it that, as you get out of bed each morning, what is it that excites you the most about what it is that you do professionally?
Well, I think the thing that excites me is the intellectual challenge of some of the problems that come up. I mean, it's interesting to try and solve these problems in an immigration aspect. I mean, we have one right now on a citizenship matter that has come to our attention, that the transitional legislation from the old Citizenship Act to the new Citizenship Act that came into play in June of 2015 may have overlooked, and so I guess it's to me, it's what I like is the intellectual challenge of what I'm doing. There is a lot of repetition in the sense that we are doing the same types of work over and over again in terms of whether it's work permit applications or dealing with people who are criminally inadmissible. But at times there are some very unique situations that come up, and having to go through the materials that are provided by the client and going through the law and determining if there is a way around the problem, I think that's the most satisfying part for me of my practice.
We're going to shift gears at this point and jump into what I call the hot seat portion of the interview, where I get to ask you a few more personal questions, a little quicker pace. Is that okay?
Sure, absolutely.
Good. The first of those questions is, do you have a success quote or a mantra that you can share with our listeners?
Well, for me, and it's just my personal observation, is that people who work hard are the people who succeed. And if you don't commit fully to your legal practice, you won't succeed. It seems to me, particularly amongst the people that I work with here, some of the more successful persons, they put in the time. So you got to work hard at this job if you're going to be successful at it.
And this next question is probably somewhat related to your answer to the first question, but tell us about your morning routine and how that maybe plays into your legal practice.
Well, the morning routine for us, at least for my partner, does our U.S. immigration work, and she has her own routine, but mine is to come in and answer emails. I'd like to try and get those emails done and addressed right off the top, because then I can focus on a particular file during the day. What we do emphasize to our clients, particularly new clients, is, look, if you need to speak to me, please email me and I will respond. Because what we find is, particularly at the present time, the volume of phone calls makes it difficult for us to get substantive work done during the day unless we direct those calls to our staff, and then we review them and determine if we can help someone. So if they leave a name and number, we will get back to them. But if they want us to address these things, my practice is to deal with emails first thing every morning and then move on from that.
Other than what you've just described, what is one personal habit that you think has contributed to your success?
From my perspective, it's taking the time to exercise pretty well on a daily basis. I find that it helps me relax and it helps me focus. And so very often I will work out in the gym at lunch, and I find it's made my afternoons go a lot quicker, and that I have more energy to put in a fairly lengthy day, which starts at around 7 to 7 for me.
Yeah, I think that exercise is one of the most productive things that one can do. Now, what is the best? I think I learned that the hard. Well, I was just going to say, I think I learned that the hard way. Is that right?
Yeah, but I can say that from my perspective, it helps you relax and it helps you focus, especially when you've been involved, and you just get out of the office and get away from it and then come back. And to me, that makes a big difference.
Bruce, what's the best advice you've ever received?
I was thinking about that, and I think the best advice I've ever received is that when you run into difficulties and you get frustrated with the practice, you're not going to help yourself by quitting. That you got to have to stay the course, and don't quit what you're doing. You just got to plug away at it. And I know on a number of occasions I felt like doing just that, but I think that what I have learned is that quitting isn't really the way out. You just got to persevere and stay the course.
What is an internet resource that you would recommend for our listeners?
Okay. Strictly from an immigration perspective, the best resource for not only about Canadian immigration legislation, but the policy guidelines that are directed to the officers who at the ports of entry and in visa offices, they're set out at the immigration website, which is www.cic.gc.ca.
And then moving from the website to the print, what is a book that you would recommend?
Well, as we were discussing earlier, the book that I would recommend has no bearing on the practice of immigration law. The book that I would recommend is the most recent biography of Robert E. Lee, the Confederate general, is done by Michael Korda, and it's really a study in leadership. And I think it is extremely well written and a fascinating story about a very fascinating man. And as I say, it's a study in leadership. And when you are a partner or a shareholder in a law firm, some leadership is going to fall upon you. And it's a good book for just understanding some of the responsibilities that are involved in being a leader in a firm.
The last of the questions in our hot seat portion is perhaps the most important, and that is, what do you recommend that our listeners do over the next 7 days in terms of their business development?
Well, what I recommend is what I'm about to do, which is meet with our marketing personnel to develop a business strategy for 2016. That would be the first thing. And also take a look at the clients that have provided you work over the past year and make sure that you acknowledge them at Christmas.
Great. I sure appreciate you've given us some great content today. I do want to remind our listeners, if you've not yet subscribed to Legal Marketing Launch, to go ahead and subscribe in iTunes and download a bunch of episodes and listen, because there's some great things that you can pick up. Bruce, let's end up today. Would you give us one final piece of advice? And then if you would let our listeners know how they can contact you, and then we'll wrap up.
Sure. Well, from my perspective, having practiced insurance law before I returned to immigration law, I would say focus on practice areas that are of real interest to you, because I think that if they are of interest to you, you'll do a better job. And if you're doing a better job, you'll obviously be more successful, and your clients will remember how good a job you've done. And in terms of contacting me, you can look at the Boughton website, which is www.boughtonlaw.com, or you can contact me directly at bharwood, BHARWOOD, at boughtonlaw.com.
Bruce, I thank you for your time today, and I look forward to interacting with you soon.
Okay, thank you, Bentley. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for listening to Legal Marketing Launch. If you'd like more information on today's episode, including links to the resources we discussed, head back to our website at legalmarketinglaunch.com and check the show notes for today's episode. Thanks again, and until next time, this has been Legal Marketing Launch.